The number one reason that A players leave is they're looking for a better opportunity elsewhere. And so if we can look at the opportunity with us on our team and make it as best as it can be, we're going to retain them.
Profit Designers, we've hit the 100,000 download milestone here on the podcast, and we couldn't have done this without you. Thank you for listening from week to week. Thank you for sharing the episodes with your friends. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for leaving reviews. At Tap the Potential, it's important to us that we are changing the lives of entrepreneurs across the globe. And we know that every one of those 100,000 downloads signifies a touch, a connection that we have made with an entrepreneur to support you in taking your life back from your business. And we want to say thank you. We believe in being a gift from our gifts at Tap the Potential. And we know that one of your biggest struggles is your time, particularly finding time for what matters most. And with that in mind, we have created the Tap the Potential Strategic Planner for 2023. Download the planner so that you can focus your time on your $10,000 an hour activities, create your ideal schedule, live by your ideal schedule, have the powerful questions that get you back on track when you find yourself falling away, and take the key actions that move your business towards profitability, towards being able to work a 25-hour work week or take that 4-week vacation. The Tap the Potential Strategic Planner was designed for our Better Business, Better Life clients, and we use it in our work with them, and now we want to share it with you. Head on over to tapthepotential.com/planner and download your planner now.
Hi there. I am curious. Do you have A players on your team? And if you do, great. What's your plan for retaining them? A players are really valuable in our businesses. And I work so closely with so many business owners who are building their A player attraction system using what I teach in the How to Hire the Best course. And they're so happy when they hire these A players and they get them on the team. And then I also am on the other end of the conversation when they lose A players. And that's a painful place to be. So what baffles me, though, is that A players are the most valuable assets in our business. They're beyond ourselves as the business owner. Our A players really are our greatest asset. And too often, we are not spending time thinking through how we're going to develop them, how we're going to retain them, and what we're going to do to ensure that they are as happy as they can be and as productive as they can be in our businesses. I'm Dr. Sabrina Starling. I'm the host of the Profit by Design podcast, and we are all about supporting you in taking your life back from your business, building a sustainably profitable business that gives you more time for what matters most and more money in your bank account than ever. And today I really want to dive into this topic with you of developing your A players, because I think it's an area that's overlooked in small business. We can get very busy in the day-to-day and be very grateful that we have these A players on our team and they're grinding it out and they're working alongside us. And if we're not paying attention to them, though, if we're not paying attention to how to develop them, we're not going to keep them very long. They're going to look for opportunities elsewhere. And really, that's the secret to attracting A players to your team. I teach this in How to Hire the Best, that if you are looking for A players, they're likely employed elsewhere, and they're employed elsewhere because they're A players, and A players move from one opportunity to the next. And so you want to be in front of those A players out on the day that they're not happy in their job and they're feeling like they're contributing a lot, but they are not benefiting from it. So that is a secret to attracting A players and getting them on your team. And on the other side of it, you need to be looking at, what are you doing to retain those A players? And that's what we're going to dive into today. So the reality is your A players come to work every day and they pour themselves into advancing your vision for the business. And they deserve a similar investment from you in their development, in their hopes and their dreams, their goals and their ambitions. And I was really struck when I first started interviewing successful business owners who had A players on their team. And I interviewed many of them in the early episodes of the Profit by Design podcast. And I was struck when I heard a theme from one to another. And that theme was their awareness that they are not in the business of doing the thing that they do and doing that really well. They are in the professional development and training business. And that got me really curious. And as I listened to them, what I heard over and over is their awareness that they need to focus, once they have A players on their team, they need to focus on developing their A players and investing in them so that their A players will take really good care of their clients and customers. And I think we as business owners who are building our teams and learning how to get A players in positions and delegate and let go of responsibilities, we can forget that, the most important thing we can be doing is developing those A players, because that creates this mutually beneficial relationship, which is very different than a typical transactional relationship that employees have with their employer. So a transactional relationship is you show up to work, you do the work, you get paid. You don't show up for work, you don't get paid. And when we're working with A players and we're investing in developing them, we're creating a mutually beneficial relationship. That A player is showing up to support your vision. You need to be showing up to support them in what matters most to them and what's important to them. And this is really an opportunity for you to stand out as an employer of choice to attract those A players that you want on your team. And I also want to caution you, don't expect that you're going to keep your A players for life. They're likely not going to be with you for life because they move from one opportunity to the next, and they are always looking for what's the next opportunity? How can I grow and develop? So the key here is to retain them as long as possible. And, if you can use what I'm sharing with you to keep A players on your team 2 or 3 years longer than you might have had them otherwise, that's a pretty significant return on your investment in developing them. So the number one reason that A players leave is they're looking for a better opportunity elsewhere. And so if we can look at the opportunity with us on our team and make it as best as it can be, we're going to retain them. So just to give you a sense of what the opportunity really is for you to stand out as an employer of choice for A players, in our research with the Better Business, Better Life assessment, we've looked at data now from over 230 entrepreneurs, and we've learned that the majority of you are not investing in developing your A players. 8 out of 10 entrepreneurs lack a system for retaining A players. 8 out of 10 are not developing their teams. 2 out of 3 are not doing one-to-ones for team members. And 2 out of 3 are not paying attention to team members working from strengths. So this is a significant oversight in most small businesses, but it's a big opportunity for you to stand out as an employer of choice. So just do what others are not doing, and then you're going to stand out. And I will also share that in the corporate world, many A players are not feeling like they are getting solid mentoring and development. So not only are you going to stand out from other small business owners, you will also stand out from corporate opportunities as well. So when you're doing this, I really recommend that you be intentional to get to know your A players from the minute they start working for you, even before they start working for you as you're interviewing them, and especially as you're onboarding. But you don't want to just stop it with the first few weeks of onboarding. You need to carry this throughout their time with you. So asking them questions to learn what's important to them. What are their hopes and dreams? What are their ambitions? What drives them? What do they value? And you want to document these things so that you can remember them, because if you're having multiple A players on your teams, it's going to be hard to keep all of this in your head. And I really recommend that you take good note as you're listening to them and document this, and then start looking for ways that you can support them and have check-in conversations periodically, or you ask them, what support do you need? You can identify, once you know what's important to them and where they want to head in their life, you can ask them, what resources are they aware of that they need to pursue? Like, what skills do they need? And what are the gaps for them? And you can help them identify those gaps. And that's where good mentoring comes in. You can point them to training opportunities. You can point them to mentors either within the business or maybe within your own network. You can share books with them, podcast episodes. And at Tap the Potential, we're now utilizing A-player development plans. This is a tracking spreadsheet that we have, and it's accessible to the team member. So the team member and the supervisor who's doing the one-to-one fills this out, but it's also accessible to other members of our leadership team. And so this creates the opportunity for multiple leaders in the business to have awareness around the dreams and ambitions of our A players. And it allows them to engage in mentoring conversations and share resources to support them. So the other thing that kind of brings up is the need to identify clear opportunities for advancement for your A players that align with their strengths and their ambitions. So you might be really surprised to learn that while you can see opportunities for them to advance in the company, many of your A players are very unclear about what their advancement opportunities are. So the best way to handle this and bridge this gap is I recommend that you clarify your vision for the next 3 years in the business and share this with your team and identify specific roles that will either get created or that are likely to become open as others move up as the sweet spot of the business grows over the next 2 to 3 years. And then share these roles with your team members and just inquire with them which roles interest them. So once they've told you, you know what, I'm interested in that role and maybe that role, then sit down with them and identify the skills that they would need to move into those roles and collaborate with them to create an action plan for how they will acquire those skills. And I would recommend that you do this from a perspective of 18 months. And this is like an 18-month career development plan where you have specific goals for each quarter during those 18 months. And your A player is tracking with you their progress on accomplishing those goals. I know a lot of you are busy and if you're doing one-to-ones already, that is great. And you might be hearing this and think, well, this sounds really overwhelming to take all this on and add this to, what we're already doing. And so it doesn't have to be overwhelming. We can make this really simple to get started. And at Tap the Potential, whenever we're teaching you new skills, we always like to break it down and get it to the most simplest way to get started. And then you can elaborate on it and build from there. And so if you're already doing one-to-ones with your team members, you could start the A player development and only do it with your A players. That's key. You're not going to be doing this with all of your team members. It's not a good investment of your time with team members who are not A players. It could actually become very frustrating and discouraging for you when you're talking to someone and they say, well, I don't really have any goals. I don't have any dreams. That person probably is not an A player. And it doesn't mean that they're not a good team member. They may be very productive. They may be very focused on what they're doing, but their ambition may just simply be, I'm doing what I'm doing right now. I don't really need to go any further. So those aren't the individuals that we're doing the A player development with. We're doing the A player development with your team members who are intrinsically motivated, who want to go further, who are curious, who want to learn, and they want more. And you know who these people are. They're very different than your other team members. And when you're working with them, they are actively out there looking for books and materials and mentors. You see that coming through. So these are the individuals that I'm talking about. They're bringing a lot of energy into their one-to-ones with you. And so you can start very simply. If you're already doing one-to-ones with them, you may say, I want us to have some highly focused one-to-ones where we talk about you and your development. And you might have a kickoff meeting where you do this and you start identifying what are some of their ambitions and values and motivators and dreams, and just capture these. And then from that initial meeting, you might come back and have a second meeting where you start laying out here are the opportunities that we have for advancement on the team. Which of these interest you? And as you start to identify that, then you move into a conversation around, well, what skills do you need? And let's start looking at how you can acquire these skills, or what training do you need? And then you start developing that training plan with them. And then you can check in with them maybe a couple times during the quarter on their progress around their goal for that quarter towards their 18-month plan. And then at the end of the quarter, you do a check-in and look at, well, did you meet your goal? And what goal are you setting for the next quarter to move you further to achieving this goal that you have? And as you're doing that, your A player is feeling from you that your investment in them, that you care, that you really want them to be the best version of themselves that they can possibly be. And meanwhile, you're benefiting because their engagement in what they're doing for you in the business is just going up and up and up. And I know we say we pay our A players and we try to pay them very well. What they're bringing to your team is priceless because they are bringing innovation, they're bringing ideas, they're bringing boundless energy. And the more you invest in them, you see that just growing exponentially. And it's a very positive feedback loop for you and for the others on the team. So if you think about it, your A players are typically 900 to 1200% more productive than your warm body team members. But they're also, it's beyond productivity. It's really about their ideas and their innovation and their just overall engagement. And so when you're developing them and you're spending this little bit of extra time with them than you spend with other team members, your return on investment is going to be exponential. So I hope this has opened your eyes to some opportunities that you have that are pretty easy to do. They're right there in front of you. And if you invest this time in developing your A players, it's really going to pay off for you over time. It improves the culture of the team. And it also sets an example for other team members because they are recognizing that some members of the team are getting special development and training, and they may want to start stepping up because hey, they want access to some of the cool things that those A players are getting to do. So it really lifts the whole team when you're doing this. If you would like our support at Tap the Potential in developing your A players and looking at how you can become an employer of choice so that you attract and retain those A players on your team, I recommend you just book a call with us. Head on over to tapthepotential.com. And right there on the homepage, you'll see the link to book a call. You'll get on a call with a member of our success team who's going to ask you about what it is that you're wanting to accomplish, what your challenges are currently. And that team member will work with you to identify a plan and share resources with you that we have at Tap the Potential. So head on over to tapthepotential.com and book a call with us. Bye for now.
Thank you for spending time with me today. Join me in our Tap the Potential Mighty Networks community at tapthepotential.com/group. Share your aha moments from today's episode, ask me questions, and join in on the fun with your fellow entrepreneurs on the journey to designing sustainably profitable businesses that give you more time for what matters most and more money in your bank account than ever. Isn't it time you take your life back? And finally, share today's episode with a friend if you know a friend who would enjoy it. This is real life business. Keep your chin up, keep moving forward. You got this.